Hey, what's up, guys? Good evening, gents. Whatever you want to call it. Peekaboo25 here, and, well, things are getting a bit dark outside and emotionally. For me, it's complex. Let me just say, it's been 15 years into this entire century, and that's like basically 1/6 of the way. If you're doing the math, I mean, it's just below 1/6, but 15 years is a long time. And for the amusement park industry, we've seen a lot of good rides go. Classics, innovative new technologies that flopped, all sorts of old rides, new rides, failed prototypes, all sorts of things go in such heartbreaking circumstances. And today, I'm going to be going over the biggest heartbreaks from each year from 2000 to just last year, 2015. And let's kick it off. 2000 is probably going to be a ride that not many people have heard about. It is the Flyer Comet at the former Wallome Park. Both of them closed in 2000. This was an old wooden coaster built from probably a manufacturer that's been defunct for a long time. It went 70 feet tall and 40 miles per hour over 2,600 feet of track, and it was built in 1940. It was 60 years old when it passed away, when it died, when it got demolished. It was a classic coaster at a small park, but now it's just being occupied by an estate building called Emerald Estates, on the former plot of land of the entire park. Flyer Comet was officially torn down in 2006, but the ride ceased operation in 2000. And note, this thing almost lost to Moonsault Scrambles, the biggest heartbreak of 2000, at Fuji-Q Highland. It was a pioneer of the hypercoaster, and it was the first ever pretzel knot, which consisted of a completely vertical Immelman and dive loop back-to-back, not featured again until Banshee in 2014. It's basically the pretzel loop of any other coaster. So yeah. 2001 was King Cobra at Kings Island. This retro coaster met its untimely end in 2001. It was an era when people actually cared about Togo stand-ups. Togos were all across America. Several major parks wanted some things to do with Togo. Now look how times have changed. And this was, like I said, one of the most retro attractions at Kings Island to date. It was one of the oldest steel coasters ever implemented. In opening day, there was the original Bat, which flopped mechanically and was the prototype of the suspended coaster. There was the Racer, and there was a couple other things there. I mean, there's some coasters that have been there since the dawn of it. And this was one of the originals. It served since 1984, so it lasted 15 years. And it had the exact same layout as Skyrider at Canada's Wonderland and Shockwave at King's Dominion. I'm kind of fighting through a cold right now. Yeah, please hope I don't cough right now or throughout this video. 2002, Shockwave at Six Flags Great America. This was the first aerodynamics mega looper to ever be built and the first coaster to ever feature 7 inversions, 3 vertical loops, a double corkscrew, and a batwing. Though it probably wasn't called a batwing at the time. The name was actually quite disputed. The ride was originally intended to stand, and it could have even been standing today, since in 2002, Six Flags Great America claimed that they were removing the Whizzer in order to make room for Superman Ultimate Flight. They didn't say it was going to be Superman Ultimate Flight at the time, but that's actually the attraction that would have replaced Whizzer, but the public was outraged. There was protests, petitions, everything. It was one of the only cases where petitioning by the fans was successfully changed. However, when the Whizzer had the crossfires taken off of it, the crossfires immediately went to Shockwave, and they pulled the trigger. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Scrapped. And I personally would have loved to get on this thing. I heard it was rough. I heard it was a lot of mechanical failures. It was very rough, or very unstable when it recently rained, which I can understand. I mean, I think this thing opened up in 1988. So, yeah. This was something this is probably the biggest heartbreak in Great America history, if not pretty much all of Illinois history, and definitely the most controversial moment in almost every Six Flags history. 2003 was Hercules at Dorney Park. A Din double out and back Woody, I think. I didn't see a lot of footage of this one. That had been operating at Dorney Park since 1989. It was closed at a declining ridership due to its incredible roughness. I mean, it's a Din. What would you expect from a Din? It's about the wooden equivalent of a Coma. And it was so rough that they gave it the nickname Hurts Your Knees. Get it? I didn't coin that. Hercules' footprint is now occupied by the much superior B&M Florida's coaster, Hydra the Revenge. The only B&M Florida's to feature a JoJo roll. Or a very slow 0G roll or corkscrew right as you exit the station. 2004 was the Bush Beast, and you may be asking, Pika, what is this thing? Well, 2004 was a slow year for closings. Sure, it was a big year for openings because Top Thrill Dragster broke the Stratus Coaster record at that year, opening in 2004, and King Ka was announced right around the time that this was announced to close. This was a Taft/Din partnership double out and back figure 8 Woody. It's a mirror image of Grizzly at King's Dominion, Grizzly at California's Great America, and Wild Beast or Wildebeest at Canada's Wonderland. And this thing was operating in Australia at Wonderland Sydney since 1985. And fun fact, all those parks used to be owned by the same manufacturer, or the same owner, and therefore that's why the rides are very similar there. And currently, this is the only one of the four that is defunct. So yeah, 2004, slow year. It's just a wooden coaster that probably wasn't too good anyway. 2005, I'm actually going to be listing parks for this one. Since there's so many rides that close with these two parks, and just a couple more that came crashing down with them, I'm going to be counting down and listing Six Flags Astroworld and Six Flags New Orleans as the two biggest heartbreaks of 2005. And I'm putting them in the same slide on like the other heartbreaks that I'll be covering for later years. 2005 saw this closing of Six Flags of Astroworld in Houston, Texas area because of the bankruptcy and competition for the other Six Flags parks in Texas. And Six Flags New Orleans closed due to the all-so-familiar and memorable events of Hurricane Katrina. I mean, that can level an entire city. These parks contain many great rides, such as XLR8 at Astroworld, an aero-suspended coaster, Batman the Escape, an intimate stand-up coaster, and Texas Cyclone, basically one of the built in-house, maybe, Cyclone coasters that Six Flags installed, like Cyclone at Magic Mountain, Cyclone at Six Flags New England, and Viper at Great America. And at Six Flags New Orleans, they had Megazeph, the CCI hybrid coaster, Zydeco Scream, a boomerang, and the Joker, which was a Vekoma custom looper because, it's kind of a slow park there. I mean, I would bet that SpongeBob the Dark Ride would have been more popular than the Joker. I'm willing to bet money on that. And now we move into 2006 Hurricane Category 5, a CCI hybrid coaster that operated the now defunct Myrtle Beach Pavilion. Stood 100 feet tall, 55 miles per hour, 3,800 feet of track. And when this ride was scrapped, interestingly enough, the trains of this coaster, they were Gerstlauer trains, they went to the Son of Beast at Kings Island. Well, we'll get on details of that later, because, you can't make a deceased coasters list without mentioning Son of Beast at least once. 2007 will have two entries, the first entry being Hypersonic XLC, a S&S Thrust Air 2000 prototype that was basically meant to test out the compressed air launch system that is actually quite successful today on most notably the Dondapa in Japan, which actually is the fastest accelerating coaster in the world, getting up to max speed in just under 2 seconds because of compressed air launches, compared to the LIM coasters, which need quite a large runway to get up to speed. This It's safe to say that this prototype failed. All it did was shoot you up a large 165-foot hill at 80 miles per hour, dropped you down 90 degrees, banked left, then right, then went over a small bunny hill, and it's over. But let me just say, this ride was probably missed by quite a few people because it's such a short thrill. I mean, there was mechanical issues from day one, but I mean, this ride, it was short, sweet, and quite the rush. 2007 will also mention Batman and Robin the Chiller. This premier rides dual launch coaster. Dual launch meaning like two launches side by side, not two launches in one ride. These were two separate tracks. The Batman track features a launch into an inverted top hat, then into a zero-G roll, which ironically both zero-G rolls were removed close to the ride's demise. The Robin ride launched you into a Cobra roll, then into the zero-G roll that was removed later on, and then it went up a spike into the whole thing again. Let me just say that this ride was plagued with mechanical issues for all 10 years or so of its operation. Plagued. The Batman side almost never functioned. The Robin side was somewhat reliable until a wheel popped off one of the trains. But the Batman side, except for the first few years of its opening and a couple scattered about days if you got lucky, it was never open. Even so much so that the Batman train went as a backup Robin train. And currently nothing occupies its spot. I'd love to see, this was also a prototype for the linear induction motor. And let me just say that the prototype made them learn their mistakes, and the same technology can be found on Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast, both at Six Flags St. Louis and Six Flags Over Texas. And that's a good ride from experience. 2008 is the Ozark Wildcat at a smaller park, Celebration City, the former Celebration City, in Branson, Missouri. It's always sad when a GCI goes down. I mean, it's a reliable wooden coaster, they're always fun, and it's even sad when the park goes down with it. This coaster was officially demolished last year, because it would remain standing but not operating until that time. And it was a smaller GCI. 80 feet tall, 45 miles per hour, 2,600 feet of track, but it's a small park, Celebration City. Didn't have too much money. Now Ozark Wildcat's train now runs on Thunderhead at Dollywood. In Missouri, Tennessee. I can see some relationships between the two states. So it doesn't surprise me they would trade trains when this thing died. 2009 has to go to the Big Bad Wolf. This thing was definitely the biggest heartbreak of almost all of roller coaster history. Closed on its 25th birthday, which sometimes downright offends me because 25 is my lucky number. And it's actually a golden anniversary because it's a quarter of a century operating. I actually would probably say that this thing, I'd prefer standing over for Bolton at times. And, it just pains me to even talk about this. I wanted to get on this one so bad. I love a good suspended coaster. The back's really fun, and Iron Dragon not so much. And it was too good. You can't put it in one slide. You can't describe such an iconic coaster in one slide. Oops, no. Sorry about that. 2009 went to Son of Beast as well. I mean, this thing is a mechanical abomination, but at the same time, a curiosity of a specimen. This honestly just had to make it. It really didn't. It's the biggest mistake of the amusement park industry. This thing was just a mistake. It was plagued with mechanical issues from start to finish. The designer was the designer was fired. I mean, the designer, our Roller Coaster Corporation of America, was fired because they did not design this correctly. There was a lot of physical issues, abnormalities in the track. They really screwed up on this one. And they just decided, we've already went too far, there's no turning back. Let's renovate it and hope it goes fine. It didn't. In 2006, a wheel burst off. Or no, a wheel didn't burst off. It stopped. Literally just stopped in the finale of the ride. Not even on the brake run, not even on the brakes, just mid-ride. Stopped in its tracks because of uneven wood. And burst a rider's brain vessel, or a blood vessel in the brain, in 2009. Which really speaks. I mean, you really can't underestimate a coaster that's burst someone's blood vessel in their head and put them in the ICU. It just... I honestly... I'm glad this thing was torn down, but those who are privileged to get a ride on this... I know I kind of knew the answer to this, but how was it, honestly? This thing I'm curious about, but I know probably would have been killed on it. 2010 was the second aerodynamics mega looper to be torn down. Great American Scream Machine at Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey. This thing, it was actually quite the beloved ride among the fans. I mean, it's an aero mega looper, so it probably had its fair share of roughness. And this was basically an exact clone of Shockwave, except a tad more compact. Better than the prototype version, which was Shockwave. More mechanically reliable. It featured the exact same elements, 3 vertical loops, a double corkscrew, and a batwing. And, well, when earlier, like last year, Six Flags Kentucky Kingdom was torn down, or closed. And Chang, the B&M stand-up that was their star attraction, needed a place to go. Six Flags wanted to put it in another park. They decided to put it in Six Flags Great Adventure, and they tore out this thing for it. Honestly, what's your opinion? Would you rather see this thing or Green Lantern at Six Flags Great Adventure? And this was by far the most controversial decision in Great Adventure history. It really was. The only existing Mega Looper to date now is Viper at Six Flags Magic Mountain. And I've heard that one can get pretty rough. 2011 is more of a personal one to me. Wildcat and Cedar Point. I actually saw this thing in person, and it was quite ugly, but that's beyond the point. However, it was closed earlier than it was closed before I even got to the section of the park because they were having a parade tied in with the local high school on that date. Like, they literally hired in the marching band and a bunch of festivities and then when I came back to Cedar Point in 2013, it was not there. It just wasn't there. It was gone, just gone. And the reason being, there was a rollback in 2011, and there was a collision, or a rollback in 2008, and a collision in 2011. The collision injured 7 people and was the final nail in the coffin, causing it to be torn out at the end of the season. I saw this thing, but I never got to ride it, and I still really wanted to get on it. I wanted to get on everything as a child, if it'd kill me or not. Well, almost everything. I didn't want to get on a launch coaster or anything over 200 feet. Or anything taller than Raging Bull. And I was still quite unnerved to get on Magnet for the first time. Eventually did ride the Millennium Force. Twice. It was great. 2012, Disaster Transport. This one is... I know there's probably going to be some better candidates out there. 2011, 2012 are going to be controversy and a flame war in the comment section. I'm ready for that. But this one's more personal to me as well. Disaster Transport, I actually rode this thing. I was on this thing, and it's one of 3 deceased coasters I've been on. Disaster Transport is one of them. Mantis, before it was renovated to Rougarou, is another. And Hades at Mount Olympus before its renovation. I was on that as well. Have not been on Hades 360, though. Have not been to Mount Olympus since 2012. This thing was a space-themed, intimate, enclosed bobsled. It was fun, especially for a little GP like me at the time. I was, like, really young. Not even an adolescent. And this ride was scrapped for Gatekeeper before I even returned to Cedar Point. So I only got 1 ride on it, and I was done. Never got to go on it again. However, I did get to go on Gatekeeper in 2013, and it was a fun ride. Probably say it'd be better. Now, 2013 is Rolling Thunder at Six Flags Great Adventure, the 3rd and final Six Flags Great Adventure entry on this list. And this was a William Cobb out and back racing coaster. Not even dueling, racing. The two sides split apart from each other at times. I mean, they were sure right up against each other, but one was always taller than the other. And it was removed for some reason for a drop tower mounted to King Ka. Never really figured that one out. You have to remove an entire roller coaster just so you can fit like a power box or a fuse box for a drop tower? It beats me, honestly. This thing probably could have stayed. It really probably could have. I've heard some bad things about this ride. However, it was a classic. It was a William Cobb. Not a lot of Cobb coasters still out there today. It's like Judge Roy Scream and Lay Monster. That's all I can think of. So yeah. 2014 was one of the 3 petition coasters. Colossus. This thing caught fire. It was petitioned. This ride was RMC. It was a fiasco of a ride. This was a racing coaster that was built in-house, I think, for Six Flags Magic Mountain since the 1970s. And several celebrities can be seen riding this thing due to its proximity to Hollywood. The most notable one that I can think of is Michael Jackson, who visited here like once or twice this summer and rode Colossus and Revolution and all that. And this ride was also featured in several movies, such as one of my personal favorites, National Lampoon's Family Vacation. Basically about a vacation gone wrong. And also on several TV shows, Step by Step, Wonder Woman, The A-Team, and the movie Zapped. I only know one of those, which is National Lampoon's Family Vacation. I know who Wonder Woman is, and I know a little about the A-Team. But honestly, I'll get those on another day, but I have a grudge against Twisted Colossus. It feels woefully incomplete for the layout of Colossus. It really does to me. Kind of bugs me almost, but I'll get on that another day. Gotta ride Twisted Colossus first, then I'll say my thoughts about it. In 2015, I'm putting salt in an open wound in many people's hearts. It is Thunder Road at Carowinds. This ride was removed just for a water park expansion. Just because their old wave pool was full of baby crap. Pardon my foul language there. I still get a little bit carried away with this. And fans have petitioned like no man ever petitioned before. And this was a classic PTC racing coaster. This thing. I wanted to ride this one. I always wanted to get on this one. A classic PTC racing coaster. And PTC is a good rep for me. They have some nice trains for wooden coasters. And they've made a few of my favorites, including Screamin' Eagle. And I can't really think of any other PTCs that I've ridden, but Screamin' Eagle is one of my favorites. And PTC, too bad it's out of business, but I still really like PTC woodies. And I wanted to get on this one. This thing was a heartbreak. The moment it was announced that it was going to be gone. Ended. And, it really, I'm kind of lost for words now. I'm a bit sad myself now that I did this. And on the end of this depressing note, I'd like to say, have a good evening, have a good day, have a good year, and hopefully nothing terrible will happen this year to the amusement park industry. Next thing you know, you hear news that Raging Bull's being torn out, and it's like, no, just no. So, as always, guys, I'd like to say, and end the video, wishing us peace.